And I'm Eric.
And this week, our topic is hope in modern America.
Hope. So, our first couple of weeks of shows have been tackling all of the tough subjects, and I think we needed an emotional break from that a little bit
Yeah, we did
and talk
cheating
about some.
cheaters, consent, violations, guns, my dad, which is not a downer.
No,
Everything else was a downer, though.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's easy to look at the headlines and just pick like random subjects that are really hard to listen to and talk about. But
Mhm.
it's the things we feel passionate about. But sometimes it's good to remind yourself that there are positive things in the world. So,
Well, I'm also passionate about hope.
exactly. So, with that in mind, we've picked a few subjects to talk about, things that are feeling hopeful right now.
Of course, I I want us to define hope before we start.
And I'm sure you've done the research, right?
Of course, I have.
I count on you for this.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Hope is an optimistic state of mind that is based on an expectation of positive outcomes with respect to events and circumstances in one's life or the world at large.
I've seen a lot of also colorful memes about hope is a light in the darkness and all of that. So, the good news is I don't think hope is the kind of thing most people need to have defined. I think it's just the kind of thing most people need to remember to have once in a while.
Well, that may be true. However, without a definition, we can't actually know we're talking about the same thing.
Agreed.
So, thank you. I appreciate your
And thank you for the definition,
willingness to join me in my rigidity here.
as always.
So we made a list of things together that we find hopeful or inspiring.
Yes, we did. We did it together.
So the first one is art and music.
Yes.
You're the musician, so this one's all you.
Art and music. So,
Making it, seeing it, experiencing it.
yeah, I think it's one of the few ways that I personally have been able to reconnect to society as a whole. It's something I find truly enjoyable. The last couple of European trips I've been on, I love going and looking at art and being in touch with the history behind it, as well as seeing new artists and interesting things like that. Like I love going to First Friday walks and buying some Hopeful Kids piece that I really like and proudly displaying it and knowing that he's or she is are they're thrilled to have sold a piece
Mm-hmm.
and thrilled that somebody appreciated it, because I myself am also an artist and I make music, and there's certain things that you can do to connect to people. The fact of the matter is a lot of people run around and talk about the idea of do art for you. And I completely agree with that. I don't do art that I don't like. I don't do it to sell out, but I do like to do it in a way that connects with people. So it is very fulfilling to me when I write a song or have created some sort of an image as a graphic designer or any of that sort of thing, taken photographs, um, and heard and had people tell me that spoke to me in some way, or
Mm-hmm.
I just really like that. So art and music still, in spite of the fact that it's often doesn't feel this way, you can look around and see that it's still inspiring people. It's still making people happy. It's still something that everyone is using to blow off steam or feel connected to society. It's a very positive thing.
Yeah. No, I definitely, there's something about, for me, it's more the experience of, like visual art and music are not things I create. I write, I do practical things like quilts.
Writing is still art.
Yeah, but but that's my thing. But I love the way it is when I put in a song that it inspires me to move my feet or whatever. Just suddenly everything feels a little better for no reason other than that played on the radio. Recently it was No Roots. All you had to do is put that song on.
I do like that song. Yeah. And the other thing I find interesting about society right now when it comes to music, especially as a source of kind of hope and inspiration is that there hasn't been too many platinum records, so that represents 1 million sales in the last few years.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's actually one of the biggest signs of the decline of the music industry. Now, we could talk about how rough it's been as a musician.
That's not hopeful.
I know, I've read a lot of articles about it, but the fact of the matter is, and even as a musician myself, what is out there is a lot of exposure for musicians that can do more things and get it out. Like, there's simple services you can sign up and just have your stuff on Spotify or iTunes really easily, which is fantastic. And the thing that actually is the most hopeful and inspiring about all of it is, I do cycling or walking down the street or wherever, and everywhere I look, everybody's got earbuds in and they're all listening to music.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, whereas the number of album sales has declined, and that has been rough for the artists, the number of people listening to music has been on a double-digit increase for the last few years, because we all have a smartphone, we all have a digital streaming service, and we all have earbuds.
I do.
So yeah, people,
although I have bone conducting headphones, so
and even the younger generations and stuff are all about just listening to music all the time, and I think that's fantastic because it means that the music industry is actually doing okay. Because at the end of the day, what matters most is that people are listening to it.
Yeah, it's hopeful. So that segues into the next one that is really hopeful to me is all the people that are trying. I recently sent you that Quest to Change the World video series by Hip Hip Heredia. I don't know if you've watched it yet.
I have not had a chance to watch it yet.
Questioning tone in my voice. You got that. You ought to watch it. It's really cute.
I have a lot of things I ought to do.
It's fair. However, you will probably watch it. I'm going to share it with our listeners because,
it'd be a fantastic time for me to watch it.
Yeah, there you go. But there's that. There's there's things like The Moth, which has been around forever, and the people sharing stories. There's Post Secret. There's just people out there just doing things to kind of put forward some different ideas.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just think it's really cool and very inspiring or hopeful. Go for it. You're looking at me like you want to say something.
No, again, I think we live in a society now where, and this does give me a lot of hope as well, where there's more forms of expression. It used to be, you were a painter or a writer. And it really started, I think, with blog culture, when people could just put their ideas out.
Yeah.
And it's gotten even further. For every dumb thing that I watch on YouTube, there are hopeful and inspiring things. There are videos, at least things that I find interesting, and offset the dude hold my beer videos that tend to show up and get viral.
Yeah.
But, it's interesting because it's become a form of expression that a lot of people can take advantage of. The internet has opened that up. It has made the world worse in many ways, but it has also made the world better.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was listening actually to Will Wheaton at a convention a couple years ago, and that was one of the things that he was talking about, is that it's a very interesting time to be someone who wants to create or produce art of any sort, because there's no one has to give you permission. And so you can do the Justin Bieber thing. You can believe in yourself and create what you want to create and succeed on your own. And so it's like there's no one's mediating what we're getting, which means we get a lot of sort of badly done or horrible things. However, we also get a lot more unique creations because of it, which is kind of cool.
Right.
And
you do have to parse through it all to find some of the good stuff. But
yeah. So I don't know. I think there's something in that. And I wonder, so one of the things that we watched the Oscars on Sunday, so it gives you an idea of when we recorded this, not that it's a secret, but, and I was really impressed to see the kinds of things that were getting awards. Like, definitely it seems to be like there's a broader variety of art, and even just like the fact that Black Panther has done so well.
Yeah. I think I'm actually really excited for next year's Oscars since Black Panther came out this year. I think it'll actually get some notoriety.
I hope
And
so.
this year's Oscars were actually kind of inspiring and hopeful to me for a kind of a different reason. I fully embrace the aspect of the Academy that finds these indie films, small release, meaningful stories, and things like that. But in a lot of ways, they've avoided things like maybe it's cheesy, but Wonder Woman did a lot of good, and I think it did as much good as some of these other stories of these tearjerker stories that tend to just be, they feel like they're made to win an Oscar.
Mm-hmm.
And so in a lot of ways, over the years they've avoided letting the pop culture stuff in there, even though Wonder Woman probably had a much larger effect on so many people. But this year's Oscars felt different.
Yeah.
They didn't do Wonder Woman, and I'm not happy about that. But Shape of Water had a lot more appeal, was a much odder story than a lot of the Oscar gold,
Mm-hmm.
tearjerker movies that tend to dominate. And again, I don't have any problem with those. Some of them are beautiful and they're really good, but I think they need to start tipping their hat to movies like Wonder Woman, and it's starting, I think, with Shape of Water winning, that people will start to pay attention to more wider mainstream type movies and how they actually can be a positive effect. It doesn't all have to be a 15 theater release for 2 weeks and then it cleans house and then everybody goes out and sees it after it wins all the Oscars
Mm-hmm.
and realize, oh my God, it was such an amazing story. So it is good. And the Oscars did make me feel hopeful. And
I sobbed at Shape of Water. Sobbed.
oh, I thought it was good.
I know you didn't have the same reaction. You told me.
It was good. I thought it was kind of trite and predictable. And in a lot of ways, again, I've seen so many things this year.
Don't hold back.
I fully expected everything that happened in it. It wasn't bad at all. And like I said, I think it's symbolic. I love Guillermo del Toro. I think he absolutely deserved to win. I just think there was
trite, but you sobbed. No, I sobbed.
I didn't say I sobbed.
No, I know.
I'm really glad you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
Uh-huh.
I'm just saying there was other movies that affected me more, but it's giving me hope because I think people are starting to they're getting past this idea that the new Star Wars or the new Marvel movie or the new Wonder Woman that comes out can be just as meaningful and to even more people. So maybe the Academy can start paying attention to those sorts of things.
It's fair point. Obviously, I'm gonna go out of order here, but kittens, puppies, and children, sources of hope. You gotta check those.
Well, you've got a kitten.
I
I've
know.
got 2
The
kittens.
cutest kitten.
I'm pretty happy with kittens.
Yeah, they're pretty adorable. So I don't know that you have to say more, but definitely on a down. I mean, this is why cat videos are so popular.
I mean,
It's a thing. There's people who hate cats who will watch cat videos.
so I was having a rough day a couple of days ago, and my partner sent me a picture of a bear hug, and it was a cartoon picture of 2 bears hugging. And
Aww.
that is just, again, more of the power of the internet and memes and things like that. And so many of the private jokes I have with people are these internet things that we see. But yeah, I mean, kitten videos, hard to be sad after you watch a few of those.
So I'm sensing here a theme, and it's the internet is a source of hope. Just it's been mentioned 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, but it's also a source of dark, sticky horror and terror.
There's that.
So I guess if nothing else, we're just trying to find the silver lining to a very dark rain cloud a lot of the time.
Okay, we'll go there. So, of the Olympics.
So I am an unabashed lover of the Olympics.
I did notice that.
I'm always kind of had an athlete gene. I'm really I like cycling. I've never competed in anything. But the Olympics in particular, unlike most sports, are more about watching people that have dreams. And the competitive nature and how it brings the world together, it's a cry fest for me. You cried at Shape of Water. I cried through most of the Olympics.
I'm not going to call them trite, though. So that might be the difference between us.
I really enjoyed some things. I was crying like a baby when North Korea and South Korea marched in together because, I mean, something so stupid as some competitive event brings that, two countries together.
Yeah.
In a meaningful way. And they're hugging and they're marching under one flag. I mean, the Olympics just did what no politicians could do, which was actually unite people that don't get along very well. I don't know if you follow the news.
A little.
So that sort of thing is amazing. And then seeing dreams of people, it's great. The American women team beat Canada at hockey.
Nice.
Which hasn't happened in 20 years. So that was fantastic. The American men's curling team won gold. Highly unusual. Not anything we've ever been great at. But really inspiring to watch them get there and how excited they were. But, those stories seem obvious, and that's rooting for the home team. But little things. A lot of people saw the guy from Tonga who, during the Summer Olympics 2 years ago, marched in the traditional Tongan grass skirt and rubbed down in coconut oil. And it was amazing. Many of my female friends were very impressed by his physique. And so what happens at the Winter Olympics this year? Between the last Summer Olympics and this one, on the island of Tonga, he taught himself cross-country skiing so that he could march in the cold in the Winter Olympics in the same grass skirt and rub down in coconut oil.
Oh.
And he marched through, and he skied in the cross-country competitive sport along with the likes of Norway, who dominates that sport, and other countries that all won.
In his grass skirt?
No.
Okay.
No, he actually wore the official attire for...
I was curious.
For cross-country skiing. And he came in next to dead last, except that, if I recall correctly, the dead last in the race that he was in for cross-country skiing was Mexico.
Okay.
Had a skier in it. And they came across the line and were jumping around with the winners and everybody who came in the middle at everything, just celebrating that the guy from Tonga and the guy from Mexico were there, competing, giving it a try, having fun. It's hard not to be hopeful.
Yeah, I would actually say that is an aspect of sport. I mean, we see some of the downsides of sports and competition, and I know my experience of being a runner and competing in long distance running and triathlons was that there was a ton of support. I mean, it's a very solitary type of competition. And yet, like when I was in high school, I did, sometimes I would compete on our team because we had a couple people who were trying to qualify for like state and scholarships and stuff. So I would take on extra races. And I just remember one time I was really sick and we needed a third runner in this one race. And I was like, sure, I'll do it. And I was slow and I was half dead, but I just had to fit. All I had to do was do it, right? And I was, of course, lapped by everyone because I was not prepared for this race. I'd already done my regular events. And then my last 100 meters, I always automatically would kind of just run with everything so that I pretty much fell over at the end. And that automatically kicked in, but I had decided I wasn't going to do that because I was not, there was nothing was happening there. And I started running just a little bit faster and everybody in the stand, including the other team, got up and started cheering for me. I was like, crap, I have to keep running really fast now.
Right.
But it was such I mean, obviously I was running for no reason other than that my teammate had a dream, right? And then all these people in the stands were supporting me because I was out there sticking to it. And I found that to be really true, even as an adult, when I'm not in the top part of it. So maybe if your numbers 1 to 10, people are less supportive. I don't know. I've never had that problem. But there's still there's something about that I find to be very hopeful, that people who are not on your team will cheer you on and support you.
I mean, that's the real aspect to sport, and I think it's stayed alive in the Olympics and in the Olympic sports. That competition that happens, it's more of a celebration of the people that are the best at what they do.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people who definitely do not like to lose.
Well, yeah.
But
I don't love losing. I get that. And it's about more than that. It's that, are you a Dead Poet Society fan? Remember that
of
moment
course.
with Robin Williams where
Yeah.
he says, sport is a chance to have human beings help other human beings excel or something like that.
Well, and I mean, so somebody who's the fastest skier or speed skater or long, jumper or track and field, yeah, they feel great when they win the gold. Maybe they feel a little let down in the silver and the bronze, but they're all hugging each other and they're all celebrating. And you know what? I mean, you can't look at the guy or girl who won gold and not say, wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, they did that.
And yeah, I mean, every human is going to be a little different, but for the most part, when you see these people competing, Korea had their Iron Man. He does skeleton in an Iron Man mask, and skeleton is face first down a sliding track on a.
Skeleton is luge, right?
It's like luge, but it's head first instead of feet first. So,
Gotcha.
And South Korea has never won this, but they had this guy, and everybody knew that he was lined up to win, and he was getting tackled by every other country that had run on it. And he was the home team. Literally, the South Koreans were all there rooting for their South Korean favorite to win this. He's the best at what he does right now, and he got recognized for it. That's okay.
Feeling. Yeah, and I love and what you said about that, like a lot. Whether it's, your team or someone else's, when you see someone passionately committed to excelling, it's hopeful. It feels good to see that and to be excited about it, regardless of whether or not they're your team.
And it inspires me. I don't cycle competitively. I've been in a few races, mostly mass starts and mostly endurance races, the kind of thing where if you ride 100 miles and do a century, then you win by default, kind of like, if you're running a marathon, yeah, somebody might win the Boston Marathon, but plenty of people are happy just to cross that line.
I'm amongst the cross the line happy people.
Right. But I get out and I ride, and I like to just beat what I did yesterday. Shave a few seconds off my time on a run that I've done 100 times around the local lake or up and down the trail. So it's inspiring, and it keeps me in shape because it gives me a challenge.
Yeah. So I'm going to say that the other thing that's been inspiring me, I'm going to talk about the news for a moment, even though we weren't really going to talk about the news.
News can be good.
Yeah, it can be.
It's hard to believe that most of the time, but it is true. Apparently, every once in a while there is good news.
Apparently, it does happen. But I've been watching the kids from Parkland, Florida, who went through the mass shooting, and the ways in which they have really taken that as an inspiration to get involved, and to see anybody decide to participate is actually really inspiring to me. I think, it's that old quote, get involved, the world is run by those who show up, right? Like, there's something about that really feels true to me. And to see kids say, actually, whether we can vote, whether we have the ability, we might have a curfew, whatever, we're going to stand up and actually participate. We're going to say we count, right? And what we think is important is important. And whether or not you agree with their platform or you think that what they're doing is the right approach, the reality is they're showing up, they're getting involved, and they're inspiring other kids to get involved. And I find that to be really hopeful, because we need more people to participate. Only 20-something% of our country voted in the last election.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
I do agree, and I do find what they're doing to be hopeful and inspiring. And I think what I love about it most is that we're unfortunately to a point where, like, a mass shooting like that gets probably about a 72-hour news cycle coverage.
Yeah.
And it's predictable. There's a shooting. They investigate to see, the news investigates to see what the shooter was thinking and what weapon did he use, and then gun control kicks in, and then we just forget about it.
Mhm.
And the kids are just like, we're not going to forget about it.
No,
We're not going to let this drop. Meanwhile, you see people like at CNN, Fox News, all these different places just like, stop, wait, what? Oh, we got to go. We're going back there. We're going to go talk to those people. Oh, the kids are making some noise. Wow. Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, it'd be insensitive not to cover it.
Yeah.
Guess this one's not going away right away.
Well, and I'm really impressed with their commitment to seeing beyond their own situation. They were tweeting today, and the González, who is, I think, the sort of emotional leader, she's been the most vocal. They went to, so she and some of the kids went to Chicago to meet with some kids in inner city schools who face gun violence more regularly. And she said, those who face gun violence on a level that we have only just glimpsed from our gated communities have never had their voices heard in their entire lives the way that we have in these few weeks alone. The platform us Parkland students have established is to be shared with every person, black or white, gay or straight, religious or not, who has experienced gun violence, and hand in hand, side by side, we will make this change together. And that, actually, when I read it, kind of got chills, because it's so easy to get really focused on, oh, I'm a victim, I went through this horrible thing. What they went through is horrible. Like, it's horrifying. And yet they have embraced a larger vision of what it means to really understand gun violence, and they've managed to actually recognize that while what they went through is horrifying, there are people who've actually gone through more horrifying things.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the beginning of some very positive talk on victim empowerment.
Yeah, and recognizing that, I just love that gating, like recognizing that they're privileged, that their shooting was acknowledged because of where they live, and the shootings that happen in other places are not talked about. So it was a really beautiful moment, and really hopeful to me that we're seeing one another, and that feels like it might actually help change things.
I agree. I think that's great. So we hope you've enjoyed a little glimpse into some hopeful things.
Definitely hope you enjoy the show.
After the first couple of months of this year, there's been some tragedies, there's been tough times, but it's kind of nice to look at some of the more hopeful things going on. So we have reached this week's Bicurian moment.
You should go first. I like yours.
So on this show, I was talking about the Winter Olympics, and there is an American freestyle skier, Gus Kenworthy, who he's from Telluride, Colorado. So one of the things I love about the Winter Olympics is you're truly rooting for the home team. We live in Colorado, and a lot of the athletes are from here or train here, and it's very much a part of the culture in Colorado. But he adopted a dog in South Korea, which is significant for a lot of reasons. They raise millions of dogs every year for food, and have caught a lot of flack from Western civilization regarding how insensitive and mean and cruel to dogs and all of this that is. But it is also part of their culture. And in doing the adoption, bringing that dog home, he's currently getting all of its shots and getting it capable of being moved from country to back to the United States. But he brought up some interesting points about, the arbitrary nature of how we've decided that cows are less cute than dogs, and so we can buy one at the grocery store here, and the other one we buy at a pet store and we keep. And that's not necessarily how other cultures have evolved.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's significant that he called attention to both the issue of how those dogs might be getting mistreated, the same way we might call an issue to how cows are mistreated here, but also said that it's sort of that country's right to do things the way that they have culturally done it. And that to me is a very Bicurian moment where sometimes acceptance doesn't always feel nice and pretty.
Yeah.
But it's necessary to acknowledge other people's way of living
Mm-hmm.
So that was the moment that I was recalling as we were bringing up the subject of the Olympics and things like that. That really kind of struck me that sometimes celebrating another culture's style and the way they do things isn't always fun and nice and pretty.
Yeah. I feel like you're starting to understand by Carrion at what, like 4 episodes?
I think so.
Mine is the story of it's a website called liveamoment.com. And this woman created this. It's I'll read their little thing. But she has a little app, and it's intended to connect people across the globe. So you take a 3-minute, they call it 3 minutes. I can't download it because I don't have an iPhone. So you'll have to try it out.
You can watch it on my iPhone.
Thanks, yeah. We are cross-cultural. I'm Android, your iPhone, and yet somehow we still manage to meet.
Mac and PC.
Yeah, it's a bi-Carrion day. And so it's intended to teach emotional intelligence and unity and to connect people across the globe. And it's just a really cool concept, I think, that she's got going on here. And she says, her question is, what if personal peace fosters worldwide peace? What if by taking a moment to give yourself some of your own peace, you can carry that into the world, ultimately creating more peace? We think that works, and we call it 3 feet of peace. And they have a little TM, which I think is kind of funny. But but I just thought it was kind of a neat idea to look at, and it feels like that concept of, having a moment and being able to connect with other people in the world who are also having a moment. You don't have to know them, and then move forward into your day knowing that not only are you not alone in your experiences, there are people you've never met who don't speak your language and don't live your culture who have those experiences too.
Yeah. That does sound really interesting. I will download it. We'll
check it out for me.
We should check it out.
Because I've only been able to look at the website.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. I do like that idea. And, I think it speaks to a larger thing where we live with technology now. And I've seen and heard so many people talking about how we're probably the most detached from our human interactions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we are.
And it's amazing because you think Twitter and Facebook and all this stuff. But how attached are we with all of that? So it's interesting that maybe technology could be spun in such a way that if you are feeling something, you could experience somebody else also feeling it in a connective way with technology. That's not just the 140 characters game or the Facebook, we only put out there what we want other people to see game.
Yeah. So that's all. That's it. That's my bi-Carrion moment.
That is excellent.
Do you think I'm getting it now too?
Maybe. I don't know. It's an interesting concept. Maybe we should stick with it.
Okay.
Thanks for listening this week. And as always, leave your comments, concerns, and
tell us what you find hopeful.
Absolutely. We'd love to hear. And we look forward to talking to you next time.
See you in a couple weeks.